Hi Tanuj,
Hi,
welcome to Sudeep Audio's channel.
thank you.
Could you please run us through your musical journey and tell us what you've been doing these days?
Um, my journey started in Sindhya school, my boarding school. I was enrolled there. I went in 1995, and basically, I was always interested in music because my dad used to listen to a lot of Western classical and a lot of. He used to even organize shows of Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Kishori Amonkar, and Rashid Khan.
At home?
Yeah, like privately, not at home, but like a private gathering sort of thing. He was a good singer back in the day. I mean, in his college days and all that. So he was really interested in Indian classical and also Western classical. So I mean, we had Mozart and Beethoven playing
All
quite a
the
lot
time.
at home, in the car, those kind of things.
But he never told you that you have to learn music because I was a singer or because I was
No,
good
no,
at
no,
it.
no, no. There was absolutely no indication of learning music or pursuing a career in music. That sort of talk never happened. It was just normal. My dad was passionate about music, and it was his daily thing. As in, he was he imported a Nakamichi and Bose system at that time from Singapore and all that. So he was very passionate about music per se, but there was really no indication of
And you also never felt that
at that
my
time.
I
No.
want to live my father's dream and
No, no, no. There
it's
was
like
no talk of this. I mean, when I was little, I mean, I didn't even know that he used to sing in college and all that.
Okay.
Just that he would sing generally in at house parties and stuff like that.
So when did you realize that you want to take up music as a career? Because it's fine.
It was a silly thing actually. How it started. I went to school. There was this kid who had a very small Casio keyboard, and he was making some funky sounds out of it. And one day I was just sitting next to him, and I said, "Dude, can I just have a go at it?" And he said, "No, this is my keyboard. You can't do it. You can't play on my keyboard. This is my typical kid stuff and all that." So I got a little offended. I was like, "You know what? I can play something. If you gave it to me, I could play something. He didn't allow me
Oh.
to play it at all. So I went back home the following break, summer break, and I told my mom, "Mom, I need a small keyboard
So
and
you
all."
used to live in Bombay that time?
No, Surat. So my dad was stationed there. He was in textiles. So I went back to Surat. I told my parents I need a small keyboard and all. And my mom said, "Well, we got you a keyboard, like that really small one, that
White Casio tone.
Casio thing." And that was like ages ago. And I of course broke it. And I always had this knack for opening the VCR and everything and just messing things up and finding out where the battery was, how it was connected and everything. So they said, "But you'll break it again. And I said, "No, I really want it this time. I want to play it." And so then they got me a small keyboard, and I was just played a couple of tunes on it. So the following year, I went back to school. I met that guy again. I said, "You know what? I can play some things now." And he said, all right, show me what you can play." And I started playing, and he was shocked, and I was playing really well because I had practiced on that small keyboard at home. So that's how it started, and then from there on, I mean, in the school assembly hall, there was a huge grand piano, and when I first heard the sound, I was just like, this is it. This is amazing. I have to play this." But again, when I went to play, the music teacher said, "Well, you can't just, you can't come on the piano directly. It's a very important instrument. You have to first go on to the harmonium and learn the harmonium and practice that." So I practiced the harmonium, played the Nagin theme and all those things, whatever I could play on the harmonium. And from there on, I basically started doing school functions. There was a vacancy for the lead keyboardist in the school orchestra. We had a 70-piece orchestra in school
Wow.
with sitar, tabla, singers, and a sort of western section on the top. I was the lead keyboardist, and there was an octopad, XP10 and all that. So it was a huge band, like huge. It was like an Indian sort of mixed orchestra, and so I started playing in that, and it was a school centenary 100-year celebration, and President then K.R. Narayan had come, and we performed, and it was a huge thing. And so I started playing in house evenings and music concerts in school, and we had a band, had a great drummer, and a conga player and two tabla guys. We had, brothers who were really good. So I was really into music even then. Like
And studies.
music studies were not that important. Not that, I mean, I realize in retrospect, like I I was not good in studies because I actually never studied. I just didn't give any time to it. I mean, I was always doing these things, and we used to have annual plays. We had an open air theatre with a 5,000 people capacity, and we used to have a 3 hour annual play. And the play director at that time, a teacher in the school, he asked me, well, we never have music, in plays. You were in the music department. Why don't you do something? I said, we could do a score for the, I mean, not really knowing what score, whatever, I said, let's do some background, music, some sound, thunder sounds and all that. XP10 used to have these special effects sounds and all that. So that was the first live background score in a play in school, actually. So it was just me on the keyboard and one more guy, I can't remember who it was. So, we did that, and so the journey began there. I was really interested in music, and as a kid I was also interested in all the theme scores, like Terminator, like ta-tan, and like John Williams, Superman. Not knowing who John Williams is or not caring who did the music, but just the music. So it started there, then I came back to Surat, and my dad, he was very supportive. He got me a digital piano and everything. But as it is in India, he was having trouble understanding how I could make this into a career. And as a father, he was concerned about it, obviously. I was a kid and I didn't know much. There was no information absolutely about, I mean, nobody had done anything in music in our family. We had no industry connection. We had no idea how things are, done and all that. So we started, I mean, my dad asked me in class 9, he had a small business in textile. He said, well, I have this business, but are you really interested in carrying it forward and doing something? I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to do this. So he said, fair enough, and he sold it off, and eventually that money was channeled into my education in the UK. But before that, there was some challenging times. Finding out information was very difficult. There was absolutely no information available in India. Google was there, but I mean, first we started researching within the country. In India, are there any courses which sort of do this? And we found out. My dad said, well, if you want to do it, you might as well do it the right way. Your learning needs to be absolutely correct. My dad was a visionary, like from day one. He would always want the best for me, and my mother supported the decision 100%. So my parents were they played a really important role in shaping my education, be it even before my music education, going to Sindhya and all. It's a great school. Yes. And I learned a lot. I mean, I was also into dramatics, sound and light department. We had dimmers, we would control the spotlights and everything. I would do the miking for the speech of the principal and everything. So I was really doing all these things. And then from there, I mean, we eventually found out there are courses in the US and the UK, and the UK was 3-year courses, standard to our Indian system. I mean, the same thing. US has a 4-year course in undergrad. So my dad said, well, why don't you do something in music technology? It seems like, because if sort of the music thing didn't work out for you, at least you would be technically knowledgeable. I think it's important. And he was always interested in technical stuff as well. So he said, I think you should do something like that. And it was more realistic. I couldn't apply to Royal College of Music or Trinity, having had no formal training beforehand. So eventually I found some information on that, because Trinity had a, thing in Bombay. They had a representative here. I called that guy. He said, well, you can't apply, gentlemen. You need to have, grade 8 playing and all that even before you apply to such places and all that. It will take you like a couple of years to just get that in place, and then you would have to apply. So eventually we found our music technology courses, and there's a UCAS system which I knew about because I had gone on an exchange program to Scotland in the year 2000 from my boarding school Sindhya. So I had some understanding of the system, of the UCAS system for international students. So I remembered, vaguely how that was done, and so I applied to 6 universities. The 6 best that I could find online and through RAE rankings and all that, where I had a better chance. I had some help from a lady in Bombay, whose name I'm forgetting now. She runs a counseling thing here in Bombay. She gave me the British Council book, and So I found out some, she said, well, these are the good universities, and it seems that they have a good music program, and I went online. So a lot of, back and forth between different people, and whatever best I could do at that time. So I applied to these 6 universities, and I got through 5 of them, based on my demos and all. I told my parents, I'm locking myself in my room for 2 months. Please do not enter. My dad got me an Audigy 2 sound card, and put it in the computer, and I just had one phono cable, like a stereo thing, from my PSR Yamaha keyboard, on which I had sequenced everything. There was a 16 sequencer system on it. So I did all that, and I also had Acid Pro actually at that time. Acid Pro 3, my aunt from the US had got some software. They were visiting, and they said, well, you're interested in music, why don't you, try something with this software. They were also always very helpful. So they gave me the software. So I made 2 sets of demos. One was this electronic thing with loops and all that, whatever I could best understand. And the other one was, in its infancy, I think at that time, orchestrally done, like with PSR sounds, and no understanding of cello, violin, viola, nothing. The ranges were extended, they were playing out of ranges, I was playing out of range. But whatever best I could. So I sent these demos across, and luckily I got through some of them. 5 of these universities. One had the highest RAE ranking, which is a UK ranking system for universities in music. And that's it. So I went abroad, and again, new set of challenges, not having done anything in music academically before. That was a bit challenging. I remember speaking to my lecturers about it. Well, do you think I'll do well? I don't have any training. And they were like, just do your modules and courses and you'll be fine. It was also a very different system. You couldn't copy any ideas from anywhere, as in, to the extent, not that copying, as in what I mean is, if you had some information about anything, saying like, in the year so and so, this composer did this, and then you would need to reference it. Where did you read that? Is that information valid? And with every composition, there had to be a 5,000, 2,000 word, 5,000 word document that's supporting your argument. So it was a very different experience, an amazing one, of course. And we did a lot of experimental stuff there. It was music, technology, and innovation. So object-oriented programming environments, Max MSP, and a lot of music concrete and electroacoustic music and stuff like that. But at the same time, I was always interested in orchestral music. So on the side, when I would come back from my university lectures, I would still be really interested in the orchestra and stuff like that. So I ordered lots of books, and my dad helped me buy some Vienna software at that time. Started experimenting. Those days there was Giga Studio, and started experimenting with that, and how to make these mock-ups, which was a huge technical feat for me at that time. I didn't understand at all. But a lot of online forums, some of my lecturers were very helpful. So finally I did my dissertation in how to basically do this mock-up successfully. And as an example, I scored a 16-minute animation film. And so that was my undergrad experience. And from there I did a master's as well after that in film music. That was very interesting as well. I met a lot of great friends there. And we did, that was a proper film and television music masters. So we studied a lot of scores, lots of films. So it was great.
So, Tanuj, what year did you come back to Bombay after your masters?
After I came back after 4 years, so in 2007 I came back.
And you settled in Bombay? And
yeah, my dad had helped me find a place in Bombay, and
so how did you kind of start meeting music directors, and what did you do?
Initially, my dad's help was trying to, because we had again no information about and no contacts whatsoever. So he tried to get me in touch with some people. I followed them through for many months, and obviously nothing happened. A lot of people say, yeah, why don't you call after so many days or so many weeks?
But that's just a formality, and that's just
it was just a formality, and I would get the sense that these guys were not really going to help me. So from there on, I met a friend of my cousin, and he said, I know this guy Sameeruddin, he's doing a lot of work in advertising, and he's a really great guy. I think what you have here, he'll really appreciate it. So I met Sameer, and I went to Octavius studio. I met him and played him my demos and all that. And even before meeting him, there was a bit of a period where he was really busy. So I thought, I don't know, even this is not working out. It was kind of a little tough at that time. But when I met Sameer, he heard my demos and immediately he offered me like 3 jobs. So I actually thought he was a fraud or something. Because like, it's not possible. I mean, for so many months I've been meeting people and this guy just heard my CD and now immediately he's offering me work. So he said, listen dude, I have like 2 commercials, I can, I'll need you on, and I can only get you like 20K. So I said, that's great, 20K per commercial is awesome. So he was great, he was really instrumental in my sort of career initially.
So that's how you started in your...
That's how I started.
And who else have you worked with?
So from there on, I got a call from Sampath one day. Juku sir had recommended me. I'd done a few things with Juku sir and he was also great. And then Sampath called me for score. I met him, very generous and kind person. And he recommended me to Salim. From there on, then I met Hitesh and sort of been doing these scores producing scores for all these great musicians.
Great.
You know.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Aditya.